Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist in Las Vegas, and Hank Goldberg is joining me as well from Las Vegas. Hank, we watched the game last night that was ugly, ugly, ugly. It was horrible. I don't know. I don't have enough bad things to say about the New York Giants. Absolutely terrible.
Well, there's several things about the Giants right now. Number one, coach hasn't done a great job. He was supposed to come in and change a lot of things. They went out and, drafted a real good running back and paid a lot of money for a left tackle. And they were supposed all these things, and, they got their top receiver healthy, and all this stuff was supposed to help Eli. And Eli's dreadful. I mean, it's ridiculous. If you look at their play selection, his average per completion is 3.5 yards. So what happens is they're playing teams that on defense just line up 11 across, and they have just play man on. You notice he rarely throws the ball downfield. In the middle of the field, everything is wide when he throws deep. Play selection's terrible because he's incapable. He's so slow now. He holds the ball forever, and the offensive line has been taking a rap. But you got this running back who's 200 yards a game, and but he gets, if he doesn't score, they don't score. They get down in the red zone a couple of times, and they have to settle for field goals because Eli can't deliver. And it's all on Eli now. And, the defense hasn't played that great lately either. So, but, they're always back on the field because there's so many 3-and-outs. I mean, you look at what happens. They get the ball in great field position early in the game, and on his second play, throws a horrible interception. The first 2 scores for Philadelphia came on Eli turnovers.
Yeah, it turned on.
He gives away more points than he generates, and they don't have anybody else. So, their season is down the tubes, and they just put too much pressure on, too much faith in him when they should have seen that. He was done last year. Last year at least there was some good Eli occasionally. You looked at him and said, when's the good Eli going to materialize with the bad Eli? Now it's a shame because his legacy now is this is going to be the way he's going to be remembered. And, he had, a couple of Super Bowls and had some great years. But it's sad in a way. But I'm tired of hearing people rip the offensive line because the offensive line hasn't been that bad, actually.
Well, he definitely is not the guy he was. And they made a lot of mistakes. Made a lot of mistakes in the off-season, and they made a lot of mistakes in the game. I'm actually shocked when I look back a week ago that they went to Carolina and they actually almost won that game. It's just absolutely amazing from week to week, the kind of performance. And I don't know whether, that was unbelievable last night. That was unreal.
Well, and if you've watched them, this has been the case all year. The only games they've been in are games where their defense has excelled. And, they got some very good defensive players. But, you got to wonder about the coaching hire. Was he ready to be a head coach?
Well, in most cases,
he hasn't done much of a job either. But you know something? They didn't have a horrible off season. They brought in some good players.
Yeah,
you can pin it all on that one decision to not be ready for his, for his aging catching up with him. And finally, it's over. They didn't plan for that.
No, it is.
And you know something? when Jerry Reese was the general manager there, and the coach, for last year, who was a horrible game coach, made horrible game decisions, but he benched Eli, if you recall, and everybody jumped on him for doing that, but he saw it, and the general manager saw it too, and the two of them were planning on going to Eli and saying, hey, we got to replace you. They saw it last year, and the Maras, who owned the team, didn't want to hear it, and they went ahead and hired another coach, and they went into this draft and ignored what the previous general manager thought, and just went ahead and just stuck with Eli. So that's what happened there.
Yeah, you make decisions and you look back on them, and you're either a fool or a genius. In this case,
well, they made the decision. If you recall, towards the end, about 3/4 of the way through the season, the general manager and the coach got together and decided to go to Eli and tell him that he was benched. You remember that?
Oh, I did. Yep, absolutely. I remember.
Yeah, and that was, they knew. And then the newspapers ripped them, and the fans ripped them, and everybody got behind Eli. And it was a very emotional thing. But though they made the decision a year ago, after they saw what was going on with him. And the ownership took Eli's side. So you can blame the ownership as much as anybody. I mean, the coach was a horrible game coach, but he knew what he was seeing. And they just thought there was one more bad decision on his part.
Yeah, the Giants.
He was right about that.
Well, do we give any credit for that game to the Eagles? I mean, I know it's hard to do that because the Giants look so bad. Do you think that the Eagles corrected enough things in that game so that we can look at them as a little bit more like they were in 2017 rather than what they look like in 2018?
Well, Wentz played a good game. He made some good throws under pressure. But the Giants actually had some good pressure on them, but the Giants didn't tackle well, and they quit. They just gave up on defense. And the other thing with the Eagles is they got some very mediocre running backs now because the top guys are hurt, and they were getting chunks of yardage against the Giants defense. It was a disgraceful performance by the Giants. But they were okay. I didn't think they looked all that great. But they were very good. Hey, at one point, the Giants were 0 for 15 on third down.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. Yet the last two games we've seen on TV, the Giants look horrible and Washington looked horrible. Two teams from the same division. Wow. That gives you some pretty bad...
Well, Washington got a bunch of guys hurt in that game. That's what happens when you don't show up and guys get hurt. They've got a ton of injuries, and they're going to have a tough time this week.
Yeah, the marquee games this week are Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Of course, that's a huge game.
Yep.
And then, of course, this isn't a big game for both sides, but Atlanta, I mean, they're kind of like the Giants in this spot where they've only won one game, and a lot of people...
They're scoring points, though, and they've got an excuse. They're missing 4 starters on defense, 2 in their secondary. So they can't stop anybody. Now they're going up against a team in Tampa Bay. But Tampa Bay has given up 40 points a game in their last 3 games.
Yeah, they've got a quarterback change there with Winston, but they're a downfield passing team. Boy, they can light you up in the secondary if you've got problems. And Atlanta.
Well, this is going to be a high-scoring game, but in the games that they've given up an average of 40 points a game on defense.
Wow. Wow.
The last 3 games.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. Yeah, you're right. This should be a very high scoring game. And of course, we have our first London game, Seattle-Oakland. That game is sitting at Seattle's 2.5-point favorite in that game, and the total.
Well, I'll tell you something. Oakland, Gruden, they arrived yesterday morning, and that game is going to be played at like it's going to be 5 in the morning where he came from, and. I think Seattle has a huge edge. Seattle went over there early in the week, spent the week over there, got acclimated to the time change, and had good practice sessions over there. And it's the time difference is the same for them. But they spent, they were there since Wednesday. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 5 days that they got used to the time change. That's a big advantage for them in that game. I don't know what Gruden was thinking about. He went over there and their only practices are walkthroughs. So they're going to have 2 days over there, and that time change is going to get to them. They're going to be worn out. They'll be sleepwalking in that game.
You talk about what was Gruden thinking about? What was he thinking about when he got rid of Khalil Mack? I mean,
that's an old story now. I'm trying to stay current.
I understand, but that's having an effect across the league. I mean, it's helped Chicago immensely, and their defense is pathetic. So, it's an across the league problem.
Yeah, but I mean, in this particular game, this is just one more mistake. And I think it's a huge mistake. I've gone over there with teams, and I remember when I was doing the Dolphin games, they had games over there. I did games in London and Berlin, and Shula used to take them over there early in the week, spend a week over there. And so, by the time the game came around, you were acclimated, used to the time change, and they would win their games over there.
Back in the day when I had a business over there, I used to go over like once every 7 to 14 days, and it was a long flight. And especially if, it's just a long flight, and time changes and, jet lag and all that other stuff. Yeah, I agree with you. Going over late like that does not make sense to me. But then again, I haven't seen him make any decisions that make sense. But, there really aren't that many marquee games until you get down to the Kansas City, when you're looking at the card, the Kansas City-New England game, and you talk about marquee games. Mahomes against Belichick,
Well, the Baltimore-Tennessee game is maybe not the large marquee game, but it's an important one.
Sure is, yeah.
Because both of those teams were upset last week. And the Kansas City game is interesting because I was talking to a guy who used to work for the Patriots and knows the organization pretty well. And he thinks that Kansas City has a real good shot because of their speed. New England, he doesn't think can keep up with them. And Kelsey, excuse me, he said that Kelsey is so good right now. Excuse me, he's better than Gronk. And he demands a double team. They double team him, then they're going to have other issues where they won't be able to, their secondary is not good enough to single cover the speed of Kansas City. They have enormous matchup problems. Last year, Andy Reid went in there with a different quarterback, and beat them 42-27. And it's just a game that, Kansas City's going to score a lot of points against them. They've got a lot of weapons on offense, a lot of speed. Speed on special teams, speed all over the lot. And New England is slow.
There are definitely, well, every team in the league is slower than Kansas City, that's for sure. This total on this game is, there's a couple spots that have 60. And we haven't seen a line like 60 in many, many years. I don't remember the last time it was. I know there was a case years ago that there was a 60, but that's a big number for the NFL. Probably well deserved. Anything on the college card that you want to talk about?
Well, Alabama keeps rolling. They're actually less than a 30-point favorite this week against Arkansas. But I think they're 28. That's a bargain when you got Alabama less than 30.
Yeah, there's a game here that's interesting to me. The Jets coming off that monster game they had last week against Denver. Do you think that was an outlier, a fluke for the Jets offense, or do you think we're going to start to see some real points out of Darnold and company up there?
I don't know. I think they could be in trouble this week because Luck has been playing very well, and I can't see the Jets having back-to-back games like that. With their one running back getting 219 yards, and they had and their other running back, Jacob, I think he had 99. It's over 300 yards rushing against Denver.
Now that's talking about Denver. That's one of your favorite coaches. I know how much you like that guy.
Well, I'm not wrong about him.
No,
he's done a terrible job there. He's managed to stop Keenum, which is something that hadn't been done last year. But now the question right now everybody's asking is the Rams going on the road to play in a snowstorm, and Goff has never played in snow, so everybody, all the wise guys are looking at that game and they're jumping on Denver because they think that the Rams are going to be in trouble playing that kind of weather, which could be. And as far as other college games are concerned, there's some good ones out west. I think the Oregon game should be interesting. I think they're playing Washington. That's a good matchup. Oregon is playing pretty well right now. Notre Dame playing Pittsburgh. Notre Dame's a big favorite there. He's got them playing pretty good ball. Miami and Virginia. Miami just squeaked by Florida State last week, and now they have to go on the road to play a very good Virginia team. And Virginia's got good defense. That could be an interesting game.
You got Texas coming off the big win over Oklahoma, 14-point favorite at home against Baylor. That game opened 17. Yep. You bet it down. Probably thinking it's
last night they had a good college game. TCU and Texas Tech.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good game. There's
and today the baseball playoffs start.
Yeah, when you look at the line, when you look at that game, boy, the pitching matchup just is incredible in that game. You wonder how that can. Kershaw against Gonzalez. Kershaw's a 150, 158 favorite on the road. Gonzalez just doesn't seem like he's in the same league. The one thing, though, everybody needs to concern themselves with when playing Milwaukee is they have a hell of a bullpen. Their bullpen, when they get, if they get Hader in there, and it's that's probably the best bullpen in baseball. If you can get to that point, but you have to get to that point. Gonzalez against Kershaw, that's why they're favored on the road like that. That's a big line in a championship series on the road, and that's one thing Milwaukee doesn't have. They don't have great starting pitchers, but their bullpen is amazing.
Well, they've got an 11-game winning streak going for them, and so they're the hot team right now. And Kershaw has not performed well in postseason over the years, so those are a couple of factors to consider.
Oh yeah, if I'm going to bet the game, I'm going to bet Milwaukee. But it's you're definitely getting value. The question is, can this guy hold up against the Dodger lineup, which has been pretty damn good? And both these teams are solid. I mean, the L.A. Dodgers are definitely the people's favorite because the public doesn't know much about Milwaukee. They know L.A., they know Kershaw, they know the Dodgers. I mean, they were in the World Series last year. And then, of course, tomorrow you got Houston against Boston, which is a hell of a pitching matchup. Verlander against Sale. And right now, Boston is a 116 favorite in that game. That's a big Saturday game.
Yeah. I think the Red Sox are playing great ball right now. Both teams have been hitting well. Verlander hasn't been all that consistent, although his last 3 or 4 starts have been very good. So, and he's a clutch pitcher, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Well, Hank, your plays are posted on JimFeist.com as well as mine. You've had some incredible results, incredible success since the beginning of the football season. Your plays are up there. I mean, there's been weeks when you're 6-1 and 18-3, record, and you're doing very well everywhere with your picks. So, JimFeist.com for Hank's plays.
Last 3 weeks, I'm 17-5.
Well, that's going to make somebody some money.
But one game we didn't mention, which I'm anxious to see, is Cleveland and the Chargers.
Well, there's a lot of things going on in that game. I mean, the Chargers played an incredible game last week against Oakland. They just dominated the game. But then again, Oakland, kind of like the Giants last night, they were pathetic. But when Phillip Rivers gets going, I mean, he almost never missed a pass in that game. But Cleveland has been playing very, people don't talk about their defense. Their defense is solid. I know Baker Mayfield and everything gets a lot of ink because he's the new kid on the block, but Cleveland defense is very solid.
Well, now people are saying that if Mayfield had been the starter from the beginning of the season, they could be 5-0. That's ridiculous.
How many times they've been in overtime? 3 times this year?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing out of 5 games. That's amazing. That will be a good game, and the line shows it. Game opened. Had 1 or 2 favored. The Chargers were favored by 1 or 2, and now it's pick'em or 1 either side. So it's kind of gone back and forth. And there has been a little bit of money on the under. Went from 46.5 down to 44.5. I agree with that. I don't think anybody's going to light up the scoreboard in that game.
Well, Phillip Rivers is a statue. Let's face it. He doesn't have a lot of movement, and they don't do a great job of protecting him. So, and Cleveland's defense is pretty good. So, you know, the Chargers are a disappointment so far this year, and that's the norm for them.
It is.
I was not somebody who jumped on that bandwagon early. I just didn't. I didn't think that they deserved to be the price that they were preseason.
Yeah, they were pretty much given the AFC West. Nobody thought anybody else could hold up. I mean, they're still very good, and they could go on a run. But this is a tough spot. Well, thanks, Hank. I appreciate your time today and your input. And everybody out there, go to JimFights.com for Hank's plays and mine. Thank you, Hank. I appreciate it.
All right, Jim. Let's have a good weekend.
You too, bud.